Welcome to SVG-TV News for Wednesday, June 11, 2014. In the news tonight, the Passport Amendment Bill was passed in the House yesterday despite the lack of support from the opposition. The bill successfully passed the committee stage and went through all its readings. A recent online media report suggested that the bill was being presented to cover up wrongdoing. Strongly refuting such claims, Dr. Al Gonzalez, Prime Minister, pointed out that the government strategically legislated a new Audit Act and passed a new Financial Administration Act to strengthen accountability.
These two important pieces of legislation have strengthened accountability and transparency in this country. Further to that, we have ensured that the audit office is better staffed, better appointed in terms of the facilities, and the Director of Audit as an independent office does not now require the permission of the Prime Minister to travel to go and audit anywhere.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Gonzalez termed the opposition contribution on the Passport Amendment Bill 2014 as disappointing. Before the bill was debated in the House, Leader of the Opposition, Annem Eustace, suggested that the bill was being brought forward to exonerate anyone from any wrongdoing in relation to the handling of passports. As he wrapped up the debate on the bill, Prime Minister Gonzalez reiterated that there is nothing sinister in the bill.
Now, Mr. Speaker, I want to illustrate what I was saying earlier. And Mr. Speaker, you understood when I began to debate today the sharpness of my language, because I'll give an example of what the opposition was putting together. I have here Carib News Now by a contributor, and it is very interesting. The contributor is obviously a local person here attached to the NDP. Headline: New law in St. Vincent exonerates corruption. Now, how in heaven's name that anybody can believe that a government will pass a law?
A three-day informal preparatory meeting for Caribbean small island developing states for an international conference in Samoa is currently taking place here. The meeting is being hosted by the Economic Commission of Latin America and the Caribbean, ECLAC, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Director of ECLAC, Diane Qualis, says it is the last opportunity for small island developing states to put things in order for the September conference. The meeting in Samoa will look at how small island developing states have been able to implement the unique program of action for sustainable development, which was first adopted in Barbados in 1994. Qualis says among the critical issues they are seeking to address is the impact of climate change on small island states.
This has always been a central focus of the vulnerability of SIDS because of the threat to the very survival of SIDS that it presents in terms of sea level rise, increasing frequency, intensity of weather events, and Minister Gonzalez made a very compelling presentation at the Kingston meeting accounting for the impact of the Christmas rains that you had in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But it's actually more than that. We speak about the issues of size and capacity, far more pervasive and enduring when applied to consideration of our resource base, productive capacity, our need to attract foreign investment and expand trade, the challenges faced with the management of foreign and domestic debt, the increasing burden of debt service, compromising the ability of our governments to provide a range of social services and social protection, rising unemployment among women and youth in particular, resulting in the expansion of the informal sector and many social insecurities that brings, the increasing costs of migration, the loss of skilled labor, aging. These are population dynamics that also impact on small populations disproportionately. So the issue of size is critical, is important to SIDS, and we need to ensure that that message is communicated.
She noted that the Millennium Development Goals also formed an important part of the development agenda of the global community, which small island developing states are part of, and sometimes it is felt that the agenda of the SIDS, as the SIDS, get lost in the efforts to fulfill the MDGs.
Our countries are more devoted to implementing the MDG agenda to the exclusion of the SIDS. The SIDS agenda has been treated more as an environment program rather than an integrated, sustainable development agenda that pulls together the three dimensions of sustainable development: the economic, the social, and the environmental. This is an opportunity for us to get it right, for us to begin to understand, and for us to encourage our governments to embrace the sustainable development agenda as the principal development agenda that is to be pursued by our member states. And we also need to get a little bit more active in the process, in the ongoing process, in terms of preparation for the Samoa conference.
The ECLAC director said there have been concerns that the Caribbean, which in the past has taken the lead in the negotiations, has taken a backseat and has not been directly defending its own needs.
This is a SIDS agenda, and this is a SIDS meeting. This is a meeting, and it's an opportunity for the global community to look to the SIDS and to hear and for us to articulate what it is that makes us unique and why it is the global community deserves to give us special consideration. And we're kind of loafing it out. We kind of dropped the ball. It's kind of like the Miami Heat's not showing up for Game 7 at the conference finals. You know, you've got to be in it to win it. And so we are extremely grateful to Minister Gonzalez for giving us this opportunity to be here, to see how even at this stage we get it right. And we've had an extremely positive and productive day yesterday.
Meanwhile, Minister of Foreign Affairs Camila Gonzalez used the opportunity to commend the ECLAC for its work in further advancing small island developing states. Speaking on the upcoming meeting in Samoa, Gonzalez noted that the Barbados Program of Action language remains the framework on which discussion on SIDS development are being negotiated. He said using what is becoming an outmoded framework to discuss the developmental challenges facing small island developing states today is doing member states a disservice.
If the purpose of our engagement in Samoa and in the year leading up to Samoa is to defend what we already got in Barbados, we're wasting our time. We might as well not have the meeting and rely on the Barbados document or the Mauritius document. We have to take Barbados and Mauritius forward in Samoa, not consolidate, or not simply say, well, you know, they were trying to take out this paragraph from Barbados, or they were trying to water down this paragraph from Mauritius, but we managed to hold the line and we have the same paragraph that we had 20 years ago. Well, if that's what we're doing, this is an exercise in dancing angels on the head of a pin, and we're all drawing salaries for really nothing. We have to move this thing forward.
The Foreign Affairs Minister urged those gathered at the three-day preparatory meeting here not to allow the upcoming Samoa conference to focus mainly on climate change, though admitting it is a big issue affecting member states.
There is a process, a flawed process, but there's a process in the United Nations to resolve climate change issues. And we must not delude ourselves into thinking that we in Samoa will make greater progress than the UNFCCC, than the COPs that are taking place internationally. They make very poor progress, but we are not going to make any better progress in Samoa. We have to flag it, we have to identify it, we have to demand more, we have to talk about the fact that it is an existential threat. But Samoa cannot become a climate change conference. And when we discuss strategy tomorrow, hopefully we can find the right balance, because it's not to ignore it, because none of us can ignore climate change. But we have to have a serious conversation about developmental issues, about dollars and cents issues, separate and apart from the issues of degrees and parts per million, because that is a separate conversation that is taking place in a separate forum.
In other news, with the pediatric ward now back in full operation, patients can look forward to a more comfortable experience while at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital. Speaking at the opening of the refurbished pediatric ward on Monday, June 9th, Minister of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Clayton Bergen, says he feels a deep sense of gratitude for the role the World Pediatric Project continues to play in the development of healthcare services in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Bergen also spoke of some of the advancements and upgrades persons will notice when they visit the ward.
You will also note that there is new and additional lightings, fans, a suspended ceiling, an upgraded neonatal intensive care unit, new medical equipment, furnishings in the area. Surely all of this is a demonstration of the development and expansion of our pediatric services within the national health sector. And we are witnessing the continued advancement of our pediatric care services under the leadership of the World Pediatric Project. In this regard, we have just seen the completion of a long-term consultancy by Ms. Cathy Frankel, a neonatal intensive care unit nurse, who spent 1 year working alongside our pediatric nurses to promote ongoing education, help implement new standard practices, crafting strategies to promote best practices, use new equipment, collect data to inform nursing practice, and so on.
The project is said to have cost some 1.2 million EC dollars. Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, Saboto Caesar, promises that next year's Fisherman's Day celebrations will be better than this year's edition. He said that the ministry was working closely with fisher folk to improve the sector. However, there were many challenges, including deforestation, which posed a direct threat to the coral reefs, and a number of fishing facilities needed to be refurbished.
Firstly, the cooperatives, we have to work much harder, and we have to solidify our approach. We have too much pulling and tugging in the cooperatives which deal with fishing. We also have the challenge, the continued challenge of the lionfish as an invasive species. Far too many persons are attempting to catch turtles out of season. This, added with overfishing in many areas, we are seeing a depletion in our fishing stocks.
The Girls High School yesterday received the award of distinction, taking their first position in the 2014 RBC-RBTT Young Leaders Program. The award for excellence in the second position went to the Intermediate High School, with the Adelphi Secondary copying the award of merit for third place. Over 265 students from 8 schools across the country participated in this year's program under the theme, Diversity, a 21st Century Imperative. Addressing the awards ceremony at the Methodist Church Hall, Senior Education Officer Asper Stevens said the Young Leaders Program has without a doubt created many critical thinkers, problem solvers, academic and community leaders. He said for the students to be involved with extracurricular activities today is a plus for their overall growth and development.
Students who wish to pursue further studies is usually given the nod very early if they are involved, if they were involved in extracurricular activities. Students wishing to go to universities, even as you apply for jobs, what you are involved in is usually considered a plus to your curriculum vitae. Today, the Ministry of Education stands firmly behind RBC in their initiative in helping to build our human capacities and capabilities, in helping to build a holistic citizen for tomorrow's generation. I take this opportunity on behalf of the Ministry of Education, to congratulate all of participating schools in this year's Young Leaders Program.
Featured speaker Rishon Brown Matthias told the students that to effectively address any problem faced in the 21st century, there must be a variety of inputs, influences and voices, and that the theme works well with the objectives of the program, which seek to, among other things, foster community spirit and development and building leadership capacity.
While we are all different and different factors influence us, we are still very similar, members of the human race, with various skills and life experiences that may be applied to any challenge to have meaningful results. Diversity is not only the nice thing to do, but a must-do for the stability of our communities and civilization.
The Central Water and the Sewage Authority is again appealing to Vincentians not to deface, but rather take ownership of their environment. Public Relations Officer at the CWSA, Joan Ryan, says she feels totally compelled to show the public what has been taking place in the Edinburgh community, where persons have found a permanent dumping ground in one particular area. Ryan says the CWSA, specifically the Solid Waste Management Unit, have been dealing with the issue for many years, and the problem is just getting worse.
At the rate at which we are going in this country, I suspect that we would be dealing with this issue for a long time to come, where persons are still deliberately defacing the environment, where persons are still not concerned about the health and the well-being of our people. This morning when we got here, a young lady was coming up the street and she had to cover her face because of the stench that is coming from over this bank, which indicates that dead animals are also thrown over here. This is in the middle of a community, and we want to appeal to members of this community to take ownership of this area and stop the dumping and the littering that is taking place here.
Ryan is once again using the opportunity to remind the persons that careless dumping of garbage will lead to the destruction of the environment, both on land and sea.
Very serious issue that we continue to pound, that we continue to speak to here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I am quite dismayed that the public seem not to care about their own health and well-being and continue to dump garbage here, there and everywhere throughout St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Today, Lime made good on a few of its promises to farmers in Georgetown with a donation of cash amounting to over $15,000 and a total of 38 4G-enabled handsets. General Manager at Lime, Leslie Jack, says during the course of 2013, Lime embarked on a mission to reach out to the community via various town hall meetings. He says during the meetings, a number of promises were made to persons which they are now keeping. Jack says Lime is extremely pleased to be in a position to lend the support to the groups, Women in Agriculture, the Langley Park Cooperative and the Grand Sable Fair Trade Group.
During the course of this year, you would hear a lot more about it, about the other promises that we made, and how advanced we are in keeping them. I had a few meetings with these ladies. For me, this was one of the inspirational stories of our town hall meetings. Yes, we hear about agriculture, what is happening around agriculture, the challenges that our farmers are facing. But what was inspirational about this is that these ladies decided to form groups of their own to diversify from the regular crop that they would grow. So whether it's the root farming as well as poultry. And it was really, really inspirational to me, and you know, as a young person, and I would encourage young people out there to emulate what these ladies are doing to help themselves.
Jack says one of the main reasons for equipping the groups with the 4G-enabled handsets is to help to improve the current level of communication which exists among group members.
One of the things that we have internally in particular, have been working on is to identify apps that would assist them in their farming database. You know, that's one of the things, that discussions that we had with them the last time that they were here. You know, I think it's really a science around farming altogether, and to keep everything in your head. You know, I mean, we're no geniuses, and we're really getting older, so we would tend to forget. But it's really important. We have identified a couple apps that we would encourage ladies to utilize, to store information and to give them some guidance as they continue along the path of the root crops they're growing, as well as the poultry farming that they have started, that I believe would enhance them. We would also provide them with unlimited access between each other, because the key for their survival is that level of communication between them.
And the Minister of Agriculture, Saboto Caesar, thanked Lime on behalf of the farmers on what he describes as a very important gesture.
Many persons have not seen as yet the importance of marrying and the marriage of technology and agriculture. And we have heard many topics about the aging population, the aging farmers, but one way of renewing our efforts as farmers and as stakeholders in the sector is to enhance our approach to agriculture by incorporating technology.
So we'll be right back with Carnival Beat. The Onto Calypso tent is this year celebrating 30 years in the arena. It features an all-star cast, all of whom are hoping to make it to the big yard, the Carnival City Victoria Park, for the Calypso finals scheduled for July 2014. Recently, SVG-TV's Dale Da Silva visited the tent and spoke to some of its members who are preparing to face the judges in the preliminaries soon.
The Onto Calypso tent dates back to 1983 when it started with 4 members: Carlos Rejector Providence, Cornelius Posa Williams, Claudius Samaritan Morgan, and Christopher Froggo Wiley, all members of the band Resurrection. They were instrumental in taking Calypso music into the rural part of the country, hence earning the name On Tour. It would later become a bona fide tent, moving from 4 cast members to 14, and today it has evolved into one of the more recognized Calypso tents in the country.
And that's when they really paved the way for the birth of the Onto Calypso tent as a tent, a bona fide tent. Yeah, and this year we are celebrating 30 years.
The Onto tent features 15 in an all-star cast, including Rastaman I, Isaja, Ras Ailey, Marshy, Walty, Strugger, Ranking Bash, the lone female, Azara, Patches, Mansik, Vibrating Skakes, Saharo, Abijah, Zion and tent leader Grantley Hyper Constance, all being backed by the band Next Level, which according to the tent leader has been one of the greatest achievements in the tent's history.
And that is one of the things that the Onto Calypso tent has achieved over the 30 years. We have put into our fold a band. The Onto Calypso tent now has their own band called the Next Level, and this band is comprised of 2 guitarists, which is Bam and Georgie, 2 keyboard players, that is Vibrating Skakes and the man Patches, and they are also Calypsonian in the tent. And we have Thomas on bass, and we have Flower on drum. Well, that is his stage name, Flower. And then we have 2 brass men, Omari, Thomas, and Gideon Grant.
Another achievement, according to Constance, is the caliber of the cast, which he says features the record for the number of former Calypso monarchs performing on one stage.
And we also have the best set of Calypsonian in one group is in the Onto Calypso tent, you know. And I want to say kudos to all of the, the people who has, been over the years helping the Onto Calypso tent to triumph over the, the Calypso fraternity. I really, feel happy being the leader of the Onto Calypso tent. That is after the migration of Carlos Rejected Providence, who was the previous leader. You know, I'm very happy to be, you know, among the cast of the Onto Calypso tent and leading it in the way forward.
And being at the helm for just over 8 years, having taken over from Rejector as tent leader, Constance said that amidst accomplishments, the job has its disadvantages as well.
It's a very challenging position, leadership, you know, because in any organization in St. Vincent, what I notice is that very few people is foot soldiers, you know. There are a lot of people who just want to be associated, but when they're in the fold, they just relax and, you know, they wait for the things to happen. And, you know, when you're a leader, you have to make sure that it happens. So
CAST is expected to face off the judges next Thursday, June 19th, at the Russells Auditorium. Dale De Silva, SVG-TV Evening News.
Meanwhile, the Digicel Nelson Block Mass Camp will this year provide masqueraders with the opportunity to play mass on Mardi Gras Day in one of 12 sections under the theme "We Drinking." Jamisha Wright has more.
Drinking is the 2014 theme for the Digicel Nelson Block Mass Band. Public Relations Officer of the band, Sean Tanner Brewster, told SVG-TV News that they identified the theme specifically to commemorate the 30th anniversary of Nelson Block.
We actually have two sections, which one of them is basically paying tribute to Captain Bligh. As you know, recently Captain Bligh just got a gold medal for the best rum in the world. So we want to highlight that in our Vincy Mass.
That's one that's not here. What's the other one that's not here?
The other one, well, we decided to bring a section that is going to basically give them a little, you know, when you're old, but you see the wild. Exactly. So we're going to be bringing wine and champagne for the more mature folks, for Vincy Mass.
All right, so walk us through the 10 that you have here.
Okay, well, we can start up to the top. We have Caribbean, which everybody know Caribbean, one of the drinkers, the heavy drinkers in St. Vincent.
Right.
Next we have Smirnoff. Smirnoff is actually our all-inclusive section that we're going to be portraying. So Smirnoff comes with the finities, the breakfast and the lunches and stuff like that. We're all-inclusive. We have Malibu rum, which is basically a rum that people normally mix with Malibu and pine and stuff like that. So as you can see, a little bit of the pineapple is there. We have Sunset, our very own. Can't leave out Sunset when you're drinking. So we have Sunset rum, which actually is one of the bigger sections in the band. Also Red Bull, and lots of persons when the energy level is low and they want to get back up, they drink a Red Bull. We also have our very own Mountain Top water, which is going to be represented at the Junior Carnival for the 10 to 15 category. We have the highly rated Hypnotic. A lot of persons when they go out, they want to sip on some Hypnotic and stuff like that. So Hypnotic section is, a lot of persons have been asking about it. We also have the Sparrow rum. Sparrow is going to be represented at the night section, the section of the band, Steel and Glitter. We have the 5 to 9 category, which is the other children section, which is Pine Hill. And last but not least, on the design section is White Oak. It's White Oak. White Oak is one of the sections that is basically, it has been getting a good response.
Brewster says the band is catering for approximately 600 masqueraders and is hoping to come extremely strong for Vincy Mass 2014. Jamisha Wright reporting for Carnival Beats.